All right. Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Feldenkrais class. And I want to give you a heads up right off the bat. Cindy and Bruce are out of town right now, which is the good news. It's not because they can't be here for other reasons, which means I will be in front of the camera. And I'm okay with that. Back when we first started out, I think that's how we started. So it was always a good learning curve for me. But I did choose a lesson that I think really kind of follows the path that we've been working on in a particular way. But I also chose it because I can view the room and be part of it at the same time. So that being said, all right, so I'm going to challenge the group that you do not exhibit more effort than you need. In other words, I don't want you to try hard. That is really, really important. And I'm taking it straight. I don't have the book in front of me. When I come back and talk, I will. Anyway, Feldenkrais wrote multiple books, but one of the books was for the lay person, for the general public, and it was titled Awareness Through Movement. And in it, he sets the stage of why his movement experiments, he even uses that reference at their experiments because he was a scientist. Anyway, so he's setting the stage that we operate on our self-image. And that when you look up self-image, as I do, and in many ways, it's not just a body image. It's so much more of how you arrange your incredible self and how you evolve it in a society, how you evolve it in your learning practice, all those things. But he does make a point that there are four things that are involved with action: movement, thought, thinking, feeling, meaning state of emotions, feeling, and sensation. Those four components are what are necessary for an embodied action so that there is a way that you are processing your whole self. Now, in the ideal image, which either he's rarely seen it or it's not that often if it does show up, but in the ideal image, there is an incredible relationship of understanding of the whole body in its actionable state, meaning your emotional state, your thinking state, and your feeling state. All those things are part of it. That's why he chose movement. Movement was the vehicle. So I'm sorry for this little lecture, but it does kind of, he spent so much time before he put out these experiments. So if you look at the experiments, these basically are kind of the meat of his work because they synthesize his background in judo, synthesize his background in physics, but also this long, long, long development of him being a real neuroplastician, meaning he was looking at how we can be in our plastic selves of evolving for the better way. So this one in particular is titled Perfecting the Self-Image. So we will start with lying on our backs. And you can start with your knees bent or long. Just get where it is that you feel your ease. And this is the opportunity for us to develop that map. And we're going to feel how the map shapes while we're in movement in a moment. But right now, just take a moment to feel your contact with the floor. And notice, how do you sense your breath? And as you track your breath, you're giving yourself time to notice that there's motion, and in the motion, you might observe if you're holding something unnecessarily. So just give it time and just see if you can observe that. Just see if your shoulder blades feel like they're even or making contact. And then see if you can feel the back of the pelvis and the relationship of the head. Where does it seem in relationship to your shoulder blades, your pelvis? And draw a line from your imaginary, or at least your sense of where the crown, the top part of your skull. So you're drawing a line straight on through, and you're moving it through the midline of your chest and ribs, through your abdomen or your waist, and it's crossing over your navel, roughly, going over your pubic bone. I'm going to slide my legs down, so you might have already done that. And now I'm going to feel that line continue out. So it gives me a sense of distance between my left heel and that midline, and my right heel and that midline. And I just know that there is a whole left side, left hemisphere of a body map. And then there's a whole right side. And we're going to use movement to fill in all the details that are shaped by our experience. In fact, that whole self-image was evolved through our personal experience. Now take your time, bend your knees, come up gently and come to sitting. And I'm going to orient this way so that I can keep some of the perspective that we'll work with. And sit in such a way, if you can, with the soles of your feet directed towards each other. Okay? So it allows your knees to turn out. You can rest on your hands at any time if for any reason that gets difficult. Now, here's what the cue is. We're going to cup the right heel with our right hand, and it's what we call a monkey hand. So the thumbs and the fingers are all together. And we're going to reach across, and our left hand is going between our big toe, and it's going to hold the forward toes, the little toes, okay? Now, if you cannot do that, you can augment easily by coming up the shin and just doing some of the variations that way, okay? So please always make the adjustment. Now, what we're going to do is the direction is we're going to lift the leg in a moment with the access of our hands and arms, and we're going to first pull it away from the body, and then we're going to direct it towards ourselves. So we're going to let the leg come up in the air, and then we're going to pull it towards ourselves, and then we're going to take it back down the way we came. Now, what we're interested in for the first one is how easy was that? And where did it feel like we've met the resistance? So when we brought the foot up and we're checking that the breath stays consistent, I'm going slowly because I really want to feel the direction. And I also want to notice what happens when I return. I want to feel that when I come back down, that am I out of the motion for a moment before I restart the next one? And I'll do it again. And I can feel that I get to a certain place, and that's good enough. And I'm going to lie on my backs now. On my backs. I have more than one today. And I've always learned to appreciate looking at that map again after we just did a few little silly movements. Did it change? Did something change, and did it rearrange some furniture a little bit? Now bend your knees and place your feet in contact with the floor so your knees are bent. Find a way that your feet are underneath your knees so that they're easily balanced. Now, the direction is what we just did, I'm going to cup my right heel again. I'm going to place my left hand in the position between the big toe and the little toes and wrap my fingers to close in on it. I'm going to reach to do that. So I'm going to come in between my legs and take it towards me. Okay. Now, again, I can adapt it. I can come to farther up the leg. And now I'm going to do the same movement. I'm going to bring my head off the floor to travel towards my foot and my foot towards my head. And then I'll take it back down. We don't need to do a lot of repetitions. So do what it is that you need to do comfortably, but find a way, and you might play with the timing. There's a certain timing that my foot and my head draw closer because I'm bending in a little bit different places in the backside of me. So I'm playing with this idea of flexion. And my right leg has a roll. So I can actually almost push it away to make it even easier. And I can let it go skyward. So there's a lot of little tiny trajectories I can do. So you're letting it push away and drawing it your head and foot towards you. And then I'm going to let that go. And I'm just going to rest my feet on the floor. My knees are bent. Now bring the right knee in the air and the foot just dangles. And then draw your left knee in the air. Okay. Just see, can you do that position with ease and then take them back down one at a time? Okay. So kind of see if you can get a sense of where was that pattern in your back really the most comfortable. Okay. So now we're going to lift the left leg in the air now. It's going to stay in the air. We're going to take that position of, are going to cup our right heel with our right hand. Our thumb is going in between the toes. I'm going to just say, repeat the same kind of contact over a while. Okay. All right. Now with the left leg in the air, we're going to repeat the movements and we're going to see, did that help? Did that make a difference? And you might notice that the left leg has a certain response to that. In my case, my experience, I can actually, we'll call it a scissor move, where as I draw my head towards my right heel, my left leg seems to automatically almost not kick away, but go into extension as opposed to folding towards me. So can you look for that or see if that's even in your sense of imagination of a possibility? So I'm going to keep doing the movement and just feel for that relationship. And if you do observe what I'm doing, I want you to notice that I am on board for being as effortless as possible, not because I have high skill here. I will not do anything more that pushes me into resistance to myself, because then I don't actually, I know there won't be a quality change in the way I do it. So I'm going to ask the same for you to get the best response of the lesson. Now I'm going to take that down and both legs are going to reach out now and rest. Check and see if there's a difference. See if the two sides of the body almost seem a little different. Now bend your knees, roll to come to sitting. And let's go back to the same position we had before with the soles of our feet towards each other. Now we're going to cup our right heel, same position of our left hand, okay? And now what I want you to do is I want you to lean over to the right side a little bit and come back. Now you might notice there's a point at which you'll tip. So your left leg can help you manage that. So my left leg is following me a little bit so that I have something. In fact, I'm going to use it even to the point where it's going to come off the floor and go behind me. And then I'm going to bring it back. Okay, I'm going to say that again. So I'm holding that contact, but I'm just leaning over onto the right side. My right arm is inside my right thigh, and that's teetering the left leg to follow me. I'm going to let it come in the air, and I'm going to direct it as if it's going to go diagonally or slightly behind me. Now, if that doesn't happen, you can open your legs wider and just tip it intentionally so that you tip it down, but you've got a hold of your foot. So you really don't have to call on yourself to do something. Okay, that's enough. Let's lie on our backs and rest. Check in, make sure you're still. And I want to reemphasize the fact that you don't have to do any action in the lesson. You can just imagine it. In fact, we will experiment with that even more detail as we go. Okay. So I'm just going to give myself a moment. So I really like how this lesson not only is really calling on me to be as systemic as possible, meaning paying attention to how the system works as a whole, but it also helps me play with something that Feldenkrais, I believe, drew from his judo. And that's the concept of reversibility, so that there is whatever actionable movement I do, if I wanted to, I could pause it and back myself back to my starting point. That's kind of cool. It's kind of reminds me of the musical chair games we did as kids. It's you have to stop before the chair's missing. Okay. Now let's bend our knees, place our feet on the floor. Now we're going to take our right heel and hold it with our hand. Now, instead of using our left hand for our foot this time, we're going to put it behind our head. So my left hand is underneath my head, my elbow is bent, and I'm now going to carry my head as I lift my leg and bring it back down. So I'll say it again, and I'm really attending where are the bendy parts when I do that into the floor, and can I soften my back so I don't feel like I have force going any particular area, but there's a softness in my back as my head comes up with the help of my arm and my leg comes up with the help of my arm. Okay. Pause that, but see if you can stay in that position for a moment. And now what I'd like you to do is you'll try the same thing, but the left foot will come off the floor at the same time. So let's actually just start with the left leg in the air. Okay. And let's do that movement again and notice if it's a little bit more obvious of what your left leg will do. And repeat it several times. And then I want you to go ahead and execute extending the knee on the left leg. So in other words, we're lifting the head, we're carrying the right heel towards it, and we're going to straighten our left leg and then bring it back. So we're going to lift our head with our left arm. Our right heel comes up in the air with our right arm, and our left leg extends. And that's enough for me. I'm going to pause that. Take a moment, just check in. Lift your right leg up again, cup your right heel, slide your thumb and hold your 4 toes. And now what I'd like you to do is lift the left leg in the air. And now with your eyes and your nose, you're going to lift the heel and the head, but you're going to guide your nose towards your right knee. And then you're going to follow the nose to go down your right thigh. I'm going to start that whole thing from the beginning. I'm resting the head. So now my head will come up. I'm going to direct my nose towards my right knee as I lift my knee and my foot in the air, left leg suspended. I'm going over towards my right knee, and then I'm taking my head back. I'm going to have the group continue so I can watch. Perfect. Nicely done. I'm going to stay with you a little longer because now what I want you to do is I want you to follow that and allow yourself to roll to the right and then take your right foot to the floor and let it bring you to sit. So it might have been too slow a motion to do, so go back the way you came and see if you can execute it in your own time. So I'm going to reverse that the way I came. Okay. So you can go a tiny bit faster. So the idea is that you're carrying the head towards the nose, that left leg suspended, and that right leg pops you up. And if you need to let go and to use it, and then sometimes going down becomes easier and it becomes the map of what may make it easier for you to follow. So you're getting the impression where he had this background in judo because he had to find a way that inertia was on his side and that he could interrupt so that there wouldn't be compulsivity with it. Okay, let's rest. And this really tests you. In fact, when I went to my other side, it was very fascinating to understand myself more. But it tests you, are you okay if you don't complete the project? That is a big issue for us. We want to get it done. We want to meet the goal. We want to execute the end game. And it's so challenging not to use that strategy for this particular experiment because it really interrupts the flow of what's happening through the range so that you're always looking, that's where I want to go, that's where I want to go. And that's the problem of demonstrating in front of people because then it's becomes what my map is doing versus what your map is doing. It really isn't, this is not something you have to finish with. Okay, let's bend our knees, roll to the side anyway comfortably, and place the soles of your feet together again, towards each other, okay? And get comfortable. And let's cup our right heel again and put our thumb in our same spot again. And now we're going to direct the trajectory of our head towards our right knee and notice the feeling immediately. See if you can spread your attention. See if you can feel, is there something that has to unlock in the left side, the left leg? As you push the weight onto the right sit bone, and as you start to teeter, there's a way, we're going to follow the trajectory that we were just doing to come up, but we're going to really pace it to go down. And then we're going to follow it, and that left leg can come in the air, and we can roll onto our back. Now, in this case, I became perpendicular to the mat. So I am noting that I don't have the same direction. So that's interesting. So then I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to take it over, use that right leg, help it with the left leg, and pop myself up. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to, and look at what happens. If I soften my right elbow, I can let myself side bend a little bit more. And I'm going to see, can I aim myself differently so that maybe, nope, it's still back in the same spot. So I'm going to try it again. Out of curiosity, I'm just going to wonder, oh, that's interesting. So I'm going to play with feeling that and follow that trajectory again. Now it's closer, but clunkier. And I'm going to bring myself back up. And then I want you to pause. Just give it a pause. Just sit comfortably. Okay. And then let's go to the very first thing we did in the beginning. And I want you to pick up your right foot and take it towards your head and see if that got easier without using more effort. Now I'm going to end up on my mat almost diagonally. That's just going to be the way it's going to go because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight down. I'm not going to take myself that circuitous route, but I'm going to see, can I roll down using, you have that leg to mitigate how any kind of drop And I'm going to use that same thing. And I can use a little bit of swing, but I'm going to come up more direct. So I'm going to try and come up and go straight down. Yeah. And it's amazing when you have that option that you can find variations off of that and pop up to sitting easy each time. Okay. Next time I go down, I'm going to lie on my back, center myself back on the blanket, and rest. I am enjoying doing the lesson. It's really helping me use the discipline to not just speed through it and try and get the bullet points. And there's such an interesting residue of sensational changes. And I can pick up even noticing it in my breath. Now bend both knees. Stand your feet again. Bring your right heel towards you, cup it with your right hand. Bring your left hand on top of your 4 toes. Let the left leg come suspended. And remember, we can straighten that leg out at will. So we can let that left leg help us. So now we're going to bring ourselves to vertical if you feel safe. So you're going to see if you can pop straight up. And then we're going to ease on down. So as smoothly as you can, whatever that is, and whatever, it's better that you make an adaptation that helps you smooth out the wrinkles of the movement as opposed to making the challenge and just getting it clunky. See if you can make it reversible. See if you can find a place that doesn't overly commit you. And I can feel there's a necessity to accommodate myself more. So I'm playing with the timing of when my head lowers in towards my chest to see if that can be a way that I can round the spine a little easier. And that helped. I'm going to rest on that and let's lie on our backs again. Take a moment to notice your contact. Bend your knees. Bring yourself up to sitting again and be creative. You can get up any way you want this time. And the soles of our feet together. Cup your right heel again. Big thumb through your big toe and fingers. And just let's go back again. Pick the head up again. See if that's getting any easier. And it is for me. And I think that elimination of tightening my chest might have been the key. Okay. All right. Now take a moment. We've been doing it dominantly on one side. So I want you to think without doing, I want you to image the idea of that on the left side. So you're going to remember, your hands are just resting. You're going to remember the position of your hand support when you did the right leg, and you will create it for the left side. So just imagine it. See if you can go to it in the sense of where would your right hand go? How would it articulate with the toes? Where would your left hand go? How would it articulate with the foot, with the toes, with the heel? And then you're going to the right side. You're going to go back to the right side. You're going to remembering it because you've been really executing it multiple times. Should be able to go right in there and figure out where is that sweet spot. And then you're going to disengage that thought and you're going to go right into the left side. You're going to create a mirror reflection. So it's going to go into that left side and then you go back to the right side. And then you go back to the left side. You can see how he likes to play with you. So he wants you to really hone in, because if you have to create that in your image for the opposite side, and then go back to the right side. Now, go right into the right side. See if that's how you remembered it. Nope. I had my thumb opposite, so I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to do it again. So it's interesting. It was so easily repetitive before, but that little tiny variation made it a little bit less clear. Okay, so now let's do the left side. So how would you do it? And then take it away and stay with the left side again. And take it away. And now that you have that, can you spread your attention? Keep doing the left foot. Can you do it in such a way that you can feel the body print, the butt print, the heel print? What happens in your chest the moment you do it? You want that to be so clear that you embody all parts of yourself. That's when you are shifting towards that ideal state of higher probability for spontaneous motion. Okay, rest when you need to. Now let's go to the left foot. We're going to support the way we've been doing it. And now we're going to lift the foot up towards the air. And we're going to bring our head towards it and bring it back. And see if, is that what you would have imagined for it? Is that similar? Does that make sense? And harder, easier from the beginning or from the end of what the right side was doing? And you don't need to straighten all the way each time. I remember reading that and thinking about that. So as that leg comes up, there's so much going on that right leg. And do it one more time. And then take yourself back down. How is it now? What is your image of your felt sense telling you what your relationship to the ground, your three-dimensional space that you take up? Notice the quality of your breathing. Sense where your head is in that midline position. And slowly roll your head a little bit left, pass through the middle, and to the right. Drawing on a little bit of last week's lesson, connecting the idea that there is a sequential turning going from left to right, feeling it down the spinal column. And in order for you to orient with that, that means there is transitional change between each shoulder girdle, the waist, and the pelvis, so that the freedom of rotation can be dialed in through the segments. And then pause in the center. Bend both knees, place both feet standing. Lift your left foot up in the air. And we'll do just a few moves. You're going to cup your left heel with your left hand and right hand in between your toes, holding your four toes, okay? And let's lift the right leg in the air. And we're going to lift our head towards our foot towards our head, and bring it back. And try variations for yourself. What happens when you bend at different times, extend the right leg at different times? Does it help if you don't stay directly in the center the whole time? What happens if you just begin to make a tiny bit of shift over and back to the center? Does it make any change? Is it different in how you use your supported leg, your left leg, compared to when you used your right? Do you see any kind of delay, or does it have a response time that's different? I'm talking about the leg we're holding, because it can give us many, many ways of using our arms to have a pulling of carrying us upward. Okay, rest on your backs. Sense your contact. Notice your length. Bend your knees again. Come up to sitting. Soles of your feet together. Slide your left hand under your heel. Your right hand goes in between your toes. And we're going to pick the leg up and lean left and come back. And I'm going to keep adjusting where my right side is, because I want to be able to then find that pattern where we lift and I can get the right leg to go behind me. And it's awkward. It's not anything like I did before. So I'm going to look at what's unique about it. And I'm going to allow myself to fall if it comes down to it, so that I don't try and play it too safe, meaning to try and avoid something that may be giving me some interesting feedback. And I'm going to take it down to the floor now and rest. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to see if we can, in our imagination, create a rehearsal for our next thing. Okay. So we're going to imagine that we're holding our left foot the way we've been doing it so far. So that means the left hand under the heel, the right hand in between the toes, and the legs ready to go where they need to go. And we're going to imagine that we are going to allow that right leg to be free, so that we can use that roll up to sit in such a way that we can execute that kind of rounding about way, and then we reverse it back down. So we're going to repeat that whole rehearsal again. And I sped through the return back down. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time visualizing that, so that our left leg is in the air, is held by both hands the way we've been doing it. The right leg is suspended. And I'm going to find a way that I come up to sit, arcing with holding the foot, tipping to the left at the right time to pop up, and then sensing what is included in the very beginning when I reverse it. Now let's do the movement. Support your left heel with your left hand, your right hand in between your toes. When you're ready, right leg is suspended. We're going to extend, lifting our head, taking that knee off to the side and using it to pop up. And then I'm going to bring it around so that both feet are back with soles towards each other. Okay. We're going to go back down the way we came. We're going to hold the left heel, the right thumb between with holding the four toes. We're going to let that right leg be ready to reverse it down. We're going to go back down the way we came and roll onto our back. And now we're going to come back up again. We're going to roll left, pop up, let go of the left foot, reach over to the right heel and take hold. And now we're going to come down the right side. So we're going to let ourselves make a full circle. We're switching the legs midair. And we're going to circle back. And we're going to reach around as we go from sitting to lying. And you should do like around the globe here. To the point where you almost are like you're spinning a top. It's been a while since I've done this lesson. It's very humbling. And challenging with a microphone. Okay. And I'm going to watch a little bit while that goes on. And I love seeing people using their imagery. And let's bring that to a close. And take a moment. I think we should have Bruce and Cindy do this lesson and have them record it for us so we can watch how they did it. Only fair, right? All right. When you're ready, bend your knees, bring yourself up to sitting. Slowly take your way further up to standing. And feel your contact. Feel the assemblage. See if you feel support, but you don't feel fixed in your support. See if your knees are extended, but they have a softness in their back. See if you can imagine that the ankles have the immediacy ability, is that such a sentence? That you would start to be able to lower and you would operate at the foot level. So practice that. Just let your feet find the immediate response to lowering yourself a tiny bit and then letting yourself reverse it. And do that again. So just feeling all the parts of your feet, because the moment we felt all the parts of our body against the floor lying down, now all we have is the floor. That's it. Good. And walk around. And while that's, I'm going to gather a couple things and talk about the lesson. So this is a true lesson to monitor how you take care of yourself. And I'm impressed with how the group's doing. People are walking still. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that lesson. First time I did the lesson, I had 3 years of practice of awareness through movement. I was in my 30s. Let me just say things were a little different. And one of the things that we didn't really do in here, but was I really appreciate in the scope of the lessons when we did them in the training, is we had 60 people in a room. And so the value of what I was playing with there is like, where am I landing on my mat? And can I keep all the things I'm working with so that I could actually, because what if I'm in a hospital bed? What if I'm in, a confined space and I need to, do I have to give everything up, the quality of what I just learned to do? Can I do it in such a way that I don't need that entire space to do it? So we really had to figure it out when everybody is using their own timing, their own space. So that was another factor to just appreciate with that. So I'd like to just read a little bit of this intro. And again, this is the outline of the lessons that Feldenkrais really put forward that he felt is a good way to draw on how to build that improved self-image. It's titled The Awareness Through Movement. And so this lesson was perfecting the self-image. So I'm just going to read this opening. In this lesson, you will learn to use a group of muscles for a specific movement in various positions of the body. You will make the joints employed in this movement more flexible and reach the anatomical possible limits within the first hour. You will learn the effect of movements of the head on muscular tension, the effect of imagined movement on real movement, and to inhibit verbalization in imagined movement, all of which leads to completion of the body image. You will also be able to transfer improvement actively obtained by one side of the body to the other inactive side, which did not take part in the movement by means of visualization or thought only. And then the part of what I wanted to mention, what we did at the very end, didn't really fall in the family of the lesson that we just did in terms of just letting us have that squish element through the feet that we could then recognize the only way we could do that is if the system knew how to fall in successive order. Does that make sense? In other words, we couldn't, our feet and ankle are so well adapted that they will not let go if the system wouldn't follow you, because then you would go one way or the other, and it had to be prepared to right yourself back up. We have all these different things in our nervous system and so forth. So when we just did that little tiny movement, we were giving a sense of expression of that self-image that we just put together. And I bring that up as an example because it's so hard for us not to want to say, this is this, so this happen. It's not about that. He's really trying to help us perk our system up so it can do what it was designed in our early developmental stages, so that it has the freedom to really manage the best for that moment in time. And I'm different. I'm architecturally different. So that is the point. And I will be not only architecturally different, I will know that I want to call on this point of reference, which is why we spent the time and we used so many variations with those ideas using awareness. It was awareness and attention that were the main elements with the movement experiment. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I am very, very grateful to be able to share the Feldenkrais lessons at Santa Monica Yoga. So thank you, and we'll be back next week.